Okay, in English today, I want to do a number of different things. So I'm going to talk quite fast because obviously I've only got my 15-minute time limit. Obviously, you may need to go back and watch this a couple of times or pause the video, obviously during certain things here. So ultimately, today we're going to be doing something called a Magpie wall that we have done in class before, and I will explain as we go along. But there's a few different tasks I want us to do in the meantime. So you will need your cold piece from yesterday. Now on the next slide, there's a set of features we're going to learn about for our setting description. And basically, I just want to know, how many did you remember to include in your initial try? So this is what I normally do. You know, when I get the little checklist and I stick it in and I green the bits that you've already done. So you're just going to have to do this for me, obviously. So if you green any you found, orange any you didn't manage to include yet, but it doesn't matter if they're all orange. In fact, I would almost prefer it if they were all orange, so then it means that I'm able to teach you a bit more. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to imagine I base my setting description on this. So it's like this thing that I found on Google, which someone created. Hang on, I'll get back to it. Which is a sinister, enchanted, remote, creepy castle in the middle of the sea built on a rock. Just found it on Google, quite liked it. Okay, so this is the list of features that I would hope that by the end, when we do our hot piece, you're going to be able to include. So I would tell my reader what the setting was. I would include details to make my place seem believable. I would describe the details, such as the weather or the time and the place or your 5 senses. You hopefully would have included some interesting adjectives to build the mood. Metaphors and similes, e.g. the rock was a scar across the sea, which is a metaphor, or the rock rose menacingly as a lion, because you know simile uses like and as, and other figurative language like alliteration, onomatopoeia. I know my class are amazing at this. They could tell me straight away what these things were. So this is your checklist. So you'll just need to pause here, either scribble them down or print this if you can. So this is mine. So I've just literally just invented this in my head. So it's a brief example. So this might be the first kind of 3 sentences of my cold piece. The rock rose menacingly as a lion. The small boat approached the granite prison. Sundown and the gold edifice dazzled, blinding me. My stomach whirled and lurched against the strong waves, and a sense of foreboding gripped my entire body. So I have just shown you what I've included in there. So I've got my simile, menacing as a lion. So I could go back to my checklist and green that. I've got my simile. The small boat approached the granite prisons. That's a metaphor. It's not a prison, it's a castle, but the character in the setting description, me in this case, is imagining it's like a prison. I've got the senses of sight, the gold edifice dazzle, blinding me. And I've got my senses, my touch and my feelings. My stomach is kind of whirling and lurching on the boat. I really, really don't like boats in real life. So that's just what you will need to do. Obviously, you don't need to colour code it. I've just shown you on the screen just to show you what you need to do. So this is your thing. You need to go back to your cold piece, find the checklist a couple of slides back, see what you've managed to include. Please email. I'd love to know. I'd love to see some of these and see what you have managed to include, because it will just help me to know what we need going forward. Okay, once you have done that, imagine a beach. So what beaches have you visited? So for example, I have been to, like in the summer, I went to Bournemouth Beach. In the UK, I've been to the Canary Islands a few times. There's kind of like it's like volcanic black sand. I've been really lucky enough to go to Florida, to Sanibel Island, which is more of like a tropical beach. So just have a think, what beaches have you visited? If any, you may not have been to a beach, which is fine. And then in your head, just describe the beach. So you don't have to write it down. You can just think it or say it out loud. So when I'm thinking of Bournemouth Beach, it was very kind of rocky shoreline. There were lots of pebbles. It was kind of an orangey colour. The sea was coming in and it was quite muddy. So those are kind of ways that I would describe Bournemouth Beach. But obviously the different beaches you have been to. So just have a think for a minute about some beaches that you have been to and how you would describe them to me. Okay, so for our descriptive writing, so for the next couple of of weeks, we're going to be writing about a beach in Goa. Now, Goa is a tropical island of Western India, and it has a gorgeous, gorgeous shoreline, loads of really very famous beaches. And I've just shown you where it is in India on the map down there. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Maybe we'll go on holiday again, but 2023, who knows? Okay, so here's some examples of some Goan beaches. So let me just get rid of that. So there's the first one. Second one. Oh, looks lovely, doesn't it? And third one. Very nice. Okay, so what are your initial thoughts? So have you ever been to a beach like the ones found in Goa? So for example, I haven't. I've never actually been to Asia. So I'm going to have to do the imagining with you. I don't actually know what they're like. And how are the beaches different from the ones you might find in the UK or most of Europe? So for example, there's no rocks there. It's a very sandy beach. So jot down 5 to 10 adjectives you might initially use to describe these Goan beaches. Make sure they're really like proper year 5 style adjectives and not just like big or sandy. So just pause here, jot those down, and then we'll move on. So these were my ideas. So I thought they looked quite heavenly. They were tropical, sun-kissed. There was azure, which means really bright blue, crystal clear water, like paradise, idyllic, perfect, warm. And you're going to have lots of different ones, but those are just your initial ideas. So this is what a magpie wall does. So when we read other people's work, it's perfectly fine to magpie some examples. It's not stealing or cheating, we're just borrowing an idea. So you might say, okay, I really like Miss Langley's word heavenly, and I'm going to use that on my magpie wall, and I'm just going to jot that down. That's not stealing, that's not cheating, that's just taking an idea. So you're going to write magpie wall at the top of your page, and I'm going to next read to you 3 setting descriptions of tropical beaches that I found on the internet. I've magpied them from the internet. We're going to read each one through and magpie any ideas you like. So it could be a phrase, it could be a word, it could be a sentence, an adjective, an opener, an idea, anything that you like from these next 3 examples that I found. So the first one, let's move me up here, is written by someone called Anushka Das, and it is a setting description of a beach. So I will read it through and then I'll tell you what I might like to magpie. So it's called The Beach. Not a great title. I'm probably not going to magpie that, but here we go. As the sun rises with a cool breeze, a gentle swish of golden sand blows quickly through the air. In the distance, the puffy clouds run happily, enjoying the sunny morning air. Proudly, the lonely palm tree stands, hovering over the never-ending blue. Its long leaves hanging dangerously are ready to fall. One by one, the coconuts on the palm tree fall. Underneath your relaxed feet, you feel the warmth of the golden blanket in between your toes and the water splashing in your face. You smell the salty water drifting. The silent sea is still and crystal clear. Suddenly, baby dolphins splash through the ocean, creating a fountain. Brightly, the beautiful beach glistens in the blazing sunlight. The tide beckons the glorious water in. Delicately, the sun gives the world a fascinating glow. The golden beach makes the world shine and a better place. Okay, so that's one setting description of a beach that I found on the internet. So what do I like about this? Well, I like the idea of the clouds running happily. I've never thought of that before. So on my magpie wall, I'm going to write down clouds run happily. I like that bit. Any bit that I don't like, that's like, they've repeated fall a lot, and I think that's a bit of a rubbish word. So I'm just not going to write that down. I quite like the idea of the golden blanket between your toes, like the kind of the metaphor of the sand. So I'm going to write that on my magpie wall. So you can pause here, just jot down anything you like that you think you might want to magpie for your own description. Okay, we're going to move on to example 2. Again, found on Google. The frothy blue-green saltwater crashes into the setting sun, reflected shoreline in waves, then gently rolls up to the rising tide line. The wave stops as it reaches and slowly rolls back into the ocean water. This relaxing rhythm of continuous lapping waves is music to my ears. Ocean breezes gently sway the palm leaves as another day on the beach comes to a close. Never have I seen a sunset as breathtaking as this. The sun peeking through the heavy white clouds illuminates the sky in a dazzling orange glow, causing the fluffy white sand to appear orange in colour. All is still and quiet other than the chorus of crashing waves. This painted masterpiece is a glorious sight to witness. So that's a second example. What in that do you like? What can you magpie for your own writing? So if you just do that, pause here, jot down anything you like, and then moving on to the final example, example 3. The sea was like a rippling blanket of brochure blue. Squabbling seagulls flew overhead. Gannets were dive-bombing the stretched surface of the sea far out from shore. The horizon was edged with a silver tint, and a cormorant was flying into that place where sun and water meet. His wings were a blur of motion, and he soon faded from sight. The opera of the sea washed over me, and the wave music was welcome. It was soothing, and I was glad to get away from the hurly-burly and stresses of life. The beach I walked on was an enchanting paradise. It was half moon-shaped, and there were no heaving waves to be seen, merely wave grooves in the sand. I shaded my eyes from the glowing sun and looked out to sea again. I could see dolphins flipping into the air like crackling popcorn. Their bodies flashed in steel grey, and I could almost touch their glee. The briny air carried a different smell alongside spicy chicken. My stomach rumbled when I heard it sizzling on the barbecue. I bought a few wings, and it was like tasting Greek fire with all the spices and sauces on it. I swore I would come back to this spellbinding place again someday. I looked behind for the last time, and already my footprints were fading as if I had never been there. So those are just some examples for you to magpie. I hope that all made sense. There's obviously quite a bit for you to do in English today. Just work through it as much as you can, and then we will move on and see the video we are going to use for inspiration.